Hello, everyone. I'm Deepak, and I'm here to talk about my journey from becoming a CS grad to a DevOps engineer. And this talk is, like he said, for those starting off your DevOps careers or even those working with junior engineers. So as a new grad, I just wanted to code, I wanted to learn, and I wanted to problem solve. I was excited to work for the Times and support their mission of finding the truth. And I'd used AWS before in a personal project, so I thought I was ready for a DevOps career. But when I got to the Times, I joined a team called the Cloud Runtime team. We're working on a shared tenant multi-cluster. And I quickly realized that my CS3 did not prepare me for this job. These are some of the technologies, I had no idea what they meant, and I did not know how to bridge that. So I quickly realized the gap between being a CS grad and becoming a DevOps engineer. And this is overwhelming. I'm sure we've all felt this, felt a bit of imposter syndrome. And how do I bridge this gap to become a DevOps engineer? So I think initially some bad practices that I addressed. I tried to handle stuff on my own, didn't ask for help. I don't think I prioritized learning as much. I tried to just get stuff done. And I received advice to try to specialize. So I thought I could specialize in Kubernetes, but I think I was missing a lot of foundational knowledge. I think what really drove this in was I was expecting a promotion within my first year. Now it's not a big deal, but obviously then it felt devastating. And I think I received a lot of good feedback, and I was able to grow from missing this promotion. I think this is some of the feedback I received. And as you can see, a lot of the overall themes are ask questions, get help, which was opposite of what I thought. I thought I need to figure it out on my own and continue learning, not just off the job, but during the job. So I think this is a lot of what I tried to apply following this. So what I need to change, I think, don't try to separate work and learning. Try to combine them in your career, and I receive this feedback a lot. And I think use all the resources around you. So get guidance, and you're expected to look for help. So make sure you look for help. I think the first step, diversify your work and learning. I think, again, people say like, oh, try to find a specialization, but I think in your first few years, try to become a jack of all trades. So try to understand the bigger picture of DevOps and like at your company. And I think for first step for understanding the bigger picture, try to maybe understand the whole overall architecture of DevOps at your company. But don't try to learn everything at once, because that's pretty overwhelming. Just try to understand the bigger picture and what all the pieces are. And I think after you understand the bigger picture, you can try to take on more difficult tasks. So try to drill down in each of those little pieces in that architecture and take on a task and say networking or RBAC. And this way you can actually start diving deep into each of these pieces and start learning. And I think what I learned was to learn for the job, not on the job. So this is how I take on a big task. So first I'll define the scope of the task. So I'll figure out what I need to learn to be able to start. But I won't actually learn. But I'll start learning before I start the task, if that makes sense. So I want to build a foundation of knowledge for this task, and then I'll actually start the task. So I'll work until I get stuck, and then I'll make sure that instead of trying to learn more, I'd first try to ask for help. I think it's an underutilized resource to ask our engineers for help. And again, just want to drill this in. Just don't make the same mistake I did about trying to figure stuff on my own. Just make sure to ask questions, even in like meetings. Prepare for the meeting, so have questions to ask. Because this also forms relationships and starts conversations. And I think another important opportunity was a lot of non-technical opportunities. So I started filling gaps in documentation for stuff I didn't even work on. So it helped me understand what others were working on. Try to present on stuff also you didn't work on, just to get understanding and be a fly on the wall. And I think one thing to address is I think this is even harder in a remote world. I think it was hard for me to find guidance going straight into a remote workforce. And it's hard to form those relationships. Like, who do I go to ask for help? So I think that also made it difficult. And some tips I have for that is just try to be intentional and direct about receiving help. So just throw that one-on-one on that calendar. Don't try to like beat around the bush. I think try to set up a system for impromptu collaboration. So we have like a 24/7 workspace that I can just say I'm going to join. And again, just make sure to celebrate our accomplishments, because a lot of this stuff's pretty difficult. So make sure to post that Slack message saying I got this done, or just make a small demo. I think that's very important. And yeah, I think one thing I realized in my first 2 years, like this gap can't be bridged. I think once I got promoted, now I need to be able to manage bigger tasks. I think there's always going to be a gap, and there's always going to be learning. And I think that's one of the most important lessons I learned, is that how to bridge that one gap, but also be prepared for the rest of the gaps. Yep. Thanks for attending my session.